Yo, what is up guys? I'm here hitting you up with a new Etheria restart video. Today we are comparing White Fang, Revelation and Count and see which of these three will be the best and go-to DPS shell in Etheria restart. Quick thing in eigener Sache, if you enjoy my videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss out on contents. I know you guys, a lot of you saw my week 1 progression video, but I also posted other videos. So in case you're wondering, there are a couple more videos, it just doesn't get recommended. Letting you know, you can check out my channel, doing a lot of different things in terms of Etheria content. Let's hop into the game. Now the way we are going to test that is by doing Teramaton, Hell 4. We're using all 3 shells on the thing, and it's not about clearing this content right here. It's legitimately just to see what kind of numbers we can get. And I think Ditting is the best unit to get a consistent comparison in terms of damage output with these shells. Now let's take a look at the shells and the build we're using. Now for Ditting, we are gonna use a Fury momentum set, and we have 3 shells. I will show you all of them. All 3 of them are with Fury momentum. They are just slightly different in terms of their passive effects, but still fairly similar overall. Now for the White Fang, we have 20% attack increase, 19% crit damage increase, and we have disorder final damage up 12%. Then we got the Count one, and before we do that, let's just read through what these shells do. After the owner takes action, follows up on the main target, dealing 2 hits, 110% damage. On a critical hit, increase the owner's crit damage by 6% up to 10 stacks. So basically, after he critted, we are getting 12% extra crit damage for our second attack. Now the next up, we have Count. Now Count has 28% additional attack, 70% crit damage, and also 12% final damage for disorder. Before the owner takes action, increases their attack by 1200 for 2 turns and additionally applies a 2-turn life leech shell. Now the interesting part, it's not a spoiler, but you need to know that with Count, he actually applies a unique golden buff to the unit he is applied to. So what you get is a separate attack buff to the existing one you get from a Freya or Beyondin or whatever. Also, this buff cannot be dispelled or blocked by a Heinrich. And then last but not least, we have the Revelation one. So this one is a little bit weaker than the other 2, but I think since we're doing Teramaton here, I think it's fine because of the ability this one has. But let's take a look. 160 attack, 70% crit rate, which is fine because we're using Ditting, and crit damage and crit rate kind of translates. And then we have the weaker part is we have a final damage dealt by 3% instead of 12%, so we're losing in 9%. But we have here, before the owner takes action, enables each crit hit dealt by the owner animus in this turn to deal additional indirect real damage equal to 12% of the target's max HP. And we all know Teramaton has a lot of HP. So theoretically speaking, this should give us a really good boost in damage. All of them level 40, awakened. And we are starting off with White Fang. Oh, by the way, guys, I just realized that I forgot to rune up Freya, and there was no attack buff for the Ditting the entire time. That's why the damage you're seeing now is so low. And I'm asking, why is the damage so low? It's because at my 3rd attempt, I just realized that I did not have an attack buff. So this is where I will just show you the difference without the attack buff and with the attack buff. Now the team of our choice will be consistent of Marvel, Claus, Freya, Lily, and Ditting. And let me turn off the auto because we only want to look at the damage. We're gonna use that. It's not about clearing right now. It's just to see the damage. We're using the Marvel, apply debuff. So Claus reliably lands her debuff. Then Freya does her thing, Lily boosts Ditting, and then we see the Ditting damage. And this is what we want to do. Now, first and foremost, we want to look at the White Fang shell. Let's start off with this battle. He's doing the first hit. That's fine. Then we use the turn meter. The only thing I hope for is I did not think about it. Can we get the mark on the Terramaton? Otherwise, I have to think of a workaround when it comes to that. Otherwise, we could also just look at the arm, but I do really not wanna test the arm. Okay, there we go, guys. I made an adjustment. I replaced Lily for MaTeIRiA just so we can deal a little bit of damage to the boss and can use our S3 with the mark on. And this will be now the test with all of the 3 shells. We will have the speed down, the resist, the death break, and the hack-in effect. Let's check the debuffs real quick. Speed, resist, defense break, and hack-in. Exactly, 2 stacks. Now, let's turn this down to speed 1 and see what damage we are dealing with White Fang now. Let's go. $60k, 36k, 12 and 11. 60k, 36k, that's close to 120k damage, which is kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I think the damage looks... Did they do anything to Ditting now? Yesterday I dealt more damage. Suddenly I'm dealing less damage. That's because you forgot the attack buff, you idiot. Might have to rewatch footage, but no you don't. Now there's a little bit of fluctuation, plus minus, but with 96, 108, let's say roughly. So the result is roughly 120k damage right now with the setup I just showcased. Plus minus, obviously. Now let's use Revelation next. Now those are the stats with Revelation, slightly lower attack, 20% less crit damage, but we have almost 100% crit rate, but this translates into the crit damage, so this should help. Let's go in, same setup, same thing. Let's see what happens. Okay, there we go, same setup, this time with Revelation, and see how much damage we are dealing. This time, theoretically speaking, Revelation should be a big damage boost in terms of the max HP part. Let's go. $60k, 34k. We did the exact same. Actually, it was even lower than that. 92k damage with Revelation on Terramaton with Ditting. Now you can already see here the difference. And there's nothing you can... Like, I could even do it 1 or 2 more times, but I don't think this will change anything in terms of damage output if we just compare these 2 numbers. Now we're gonna use count, which buffs himself up. And we also have the final damage up, crit damage, and 28. And the stats are 2500, higher crit damage, lower crit rate. Everything else is the same. Let's see what happens this time. Okay, now we are at the exact same situation, skill free, and see how much we are dealing. Oh, to 80, 45. Now let's do it again with the attack buff. Now for consistency purposes, I did not use Freya now. I instead switched to Beyond Them. With Beyond Them, we're getting a attack buff and a crit damage buff. But the difference is with a Freya, we could potentially land the vulnerable debuff, and that would just mess up with the test. So instead, I went with Beyond Them now. So we can see he has an attack buff, crit damage buff, the count 1200% attack up, and the life leech. Let's see the damage with a proper buff setup. 200k. But hey, if you are watching this part right now, you're a legend. I'm telling you something, you're a legend in my heart. Now we got Revelation next up, same situation, all the buffs are applied. Let's see the damage output. We have this golden buff, Revelation. Each crit in this turn has a 40% chance to deal additional true damage equal to 12% of the target's max HP. Okay, now this is interesting because I think I have to reread Revelation, but I think it was not mentioned. It's just a 40% chance. This is interesting now. You only have a 40% chance. Okay. Let's see if we can hit that 40%. 150k. I will test now 2 or 3 more runs with Revelation to see if the damage is either going lower or higher, to see if I can hit that 40% to see a real comparison for the damage output. Okay guys, I now did the Revelation part 10 more times and the damage of Revelation did not change at all. So either there's one of 3 things. First and foremost, I hit the 40% every single time. The second would be I didn't hit the 40% a single time, or in the battle itself it is actually a mistranslation, or it's an error in the text, because here if you read Revelation it doesn't mention anything about having a 40% chance. If you're fighting, it says you only have a 40% chance. Now the question arises, which is correct and which is wrong. Because of that, I will declare for the time being that the Revelation shell could potentially be bugged right now. This could be bugged. I don't know. We will see if they will address it or something, but it's kind of weird. In game it says something. Maybe it's just a mistranslation. Who knows? But we gotta wait and see. Now for the final test, we are going to use White Fang. Let's see for the final time what is the damage with Atk Buff with the White Fang. Let's go. 104, 56. That's 160. 20 and 20. Okay, now based on the testings which you just saw, I determined a ranking right now. Revelation, in my opinion, is the weakest out of them, even though it was not as properly built as the other 2. Still, the damage was very, very different overall. I might have to look back at Revelation once I get like an attack percentage roll, and when I get a 12% final damage up. I have to look at that again to give you a comparison, but for the time being I will rank it as the weakest, and I think it could potentially be bugged as well, because Terramoton is a dungeon where this piece should shine in theory, because it scales off max HP from the enemy, and Terramoton has a lot of HP, like really a lot of HP. And it didn't really do that much damage in comparison to the other ones. And based on that, on enemies who have even lower HP, this will become weaker as well, and also only triggers once every 4 turns. Now then, we have the 2 parts left and right, White Fang and Count. Where's White Fang good? Where's Count good? Both have very similar damage. Now if I go in and test a little bit more, it could be the case that Count even has a higher ceiling, getting even a little bit more damage out, because I only did 1 test on each side, but it was fairly similar. But how are they comparable to each other? Now in my opinion, if you go with a single target enemy like Terramoton, it really doesn't matter too much if you go White Fang or Count, because at the end you get similar damage with all the debuffs. Now if you have multiple targets, now this is a different thing, because White Fang only hits the target that you are directly attacking and ignoring the rest. Now this is the point where you're losing damage, and this is where Count shines more. How would I combine these 2 together? Now there are certain scenarios. So first of all, if you want to combine these 2, I would put White Fang on your sub DPS, especially if you run bidding, because this way if you're using a sub DPS, after your sub DPS attack, White Fang hits 2 more times, reducing the HP and making sure that the enemy, the target, has the marker on it. That's the one thing. And the other thing is, where potentially could White Fang be better? Also an interesting question. Here it could be the case that White Fang is better than Count for Union Boss and for potentially Phantom Theater. Because as we know, when the White Fang crits 2 times, you get an additional 12% crit damage. Now the question is still, is crit damage capped or not? I think it could be the case, because sometimes the damage is kind of weird to me. It feels capped. You could maximize your crit damage with the White Fang over time, because then you have 12%, then you get 24%, then you get 36%. And this way you slowly outperform count in that sense, but count has the life leech effect, which allows sustain for your DPS depending on what kind of team you're building. So overall, the universal answer is count is the #1. White Fang for Union Boss and Phantom Theater could provide more damage, and Revelation right now is kind of weird. I would refrain from using it. And yeah, guys, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below. I really appreciate it. And see you with the next one. Deuces.